Hi all! Today we are researching how Qantas can satisfy its customers and increase revenue whilst accelerating their economic recovery post-pandemic. The group members for this group project are Samantha Jeffrey, Mingjun Lee and I, Winston McGowan. Qantas was founded in November 1920 by Hudson Fysh, Fergus McMaster and Paul McGuinness, but since the year of 2000, Alan Joyce has been the CEO. He has done a terrific job making it to be what the Daily Mail Australia labelled in 2022 as the world's oldest and most trusted airline. Qantas's brand identity is illustrated through its iconic kangaroo logo, which Joyce believes signifies the spirit of Australia and is a symbol of home when passengers see the aircraft's tail at airports around the world.
Qantas has always been about safety. For 100 years our focus has been and always will be on the safety of both our own people and our passengers. The World Health Organisation and Australian health authorities say the risk of contracting the coronavirus on board an aircraft is very low and similar to that of other public spaces.
Qantas faces tough competition in the domestic market, as Hannah Dowling stated in 2022. Virgin Australia is its biggest competitor, with the largest market share, and is closely followed by the increasingly competitive Rex, given their expansion into domestic routes. In 2020, Jamie Freed stated that Virgin are a big threat to Qantas, given their budget airline strategy acquired many of their economy class customers. Internationally, Barbara Peterson said in 2021 that Singapore Airlines holds the most market share and is Qantas's main competitor, not only due to its state-of-the-art aircraft, but also its superior additional services and cost leadership. Singapore Airlines is closely followed by Qatar Airways and Emirates, who all hold greater market share than Qantas. Qantas has adopted several marketing strategies to gain a unique competitive advantage. Domestically, Qantas has developed their social responsibility by enhancing their connection with the Australian Indigenous culture through the recruitment of Aboriginal staff and the adoption of an Aboriginal-style flight paint scheme. Brand management, Qantas has implemented a successful multi-brand strategy with a range of sub-brands: Qantas Link for regional flights, Jetstar for budget flights, and Qantas Freight for air freight services. Qantas is also actively involved with customer marketing by sponsoring events such as the Ushers, launching loyalty programs such as Business Rewards and Frequent Flyer, and also signing influencing people as ambassadors such as Adam Goodes. The Qantas newsroom reported in August 2021 that they had lost $12 billion in revenue due to COVID. Limited international travel and ongoing domestic border restrictions caused a 72% decrease in bookings, forcing Qantas to lay off 8,500 staff. Shareholders of Qantas also took a huge toll, with a 64% decrease in its stock price. Our research approach was to construct and distribute a survey containing questions involving the audience's view of Qantas's service in relation to its competitors and their approach to flying in general at the risk of contracting COVID. The methodology employed is to analyse the sample and collate the important data to suggest marketing strategies for Qantas. As analysts, we will employ a quantitative approach and nothing qualitative, to analyse from a sample of the target population to output the data in numerical form. A quantitative analysis method is surveying a random sample by distributing a Qualtrics questionnaire through Facebook. The survey data was imported from Qualtrics into SPSS. This process included adjusting the variable types to correct the format, then check for missing data to ensure statistical completeness, and finally remove outliers to assure reasonable data. Survey questions included multiple choice, Likert scales, and short answer. The first test conducted was the independent samples t-test, to assess whether there is a significant difference between male and female in terms of whether COVID restrictions impacted their work. Given it is a bivariate, with a binary categorical independent variable being the COVID impact on work travel and metric dependent variable on the gender of the participants. Computing these two variables into SPSS completed a series of tables assisting our analysis in determining whether it varies depending on the demographics of participants. Before analysing the data, we make hypotheses. Hypotheses are an unproved proposition or supposition, tentatively explaining specific facts. Analysing the data allows us to decide whether our hypothesis is empirically proved. For this independent samples t-test, the null and alternative hypotheses are displayed here. The significance level or confidence level of Levene's test for equality of variances is 0.695. Given it is greater than 0.05, this means that equal variances are assumed and that their null hypothesis is accepted. Therefore, there is no significant difference between the two groups. meaning both occupations of male and females were impacted similarly by COVID, which was the result we were expecting. A paired samples t-test was conducted to determine the difference between whether the population sample was impacted more by COVID travel restrictions interstate or overseas. The data for this research question analyses the difference of means between the impact on overseas and interstate travellers. Gaining an understanding of whether there was a big differentiation will allow the marketing team at Qantas to put more focus on the health and safety of interstate or international flights. The null and alternative hypotheses for this paired samples t-test are displayed here. As shown in this paired samples test table, the level of significance is at 0.09, hence greater than the 0.05 threshold. Therefore, we accept the null hypothesis that there is no significant difference between the two means. However, what can be analysed from the mean section of the paired samples t-test is that mean interstate travel is lower than mean overseas travel. This means that people were deterred more from travelling overseas compared with interstate. These results were expected by us, and it suggests that Qantas has an opportunity to gain a competitive advantage. Perhaps Qantas could aim to be the cleanest and safest airline from COVID, or have its own PCR testing station. Here, we researched for the comparison between customers' flight perk ratings in terms of their flight frequency. We can see that the significance level of the tests of homogeneity of variances is greater than 0.05, and thus there are equal variances, with the assumption being not violated. Given the assumption is not violated, we check the level of significance in the ANOVA table, whereby all p-values are greater than 0.05, and thus we accept the null hypothesis. Therefore, there is no significant difference between the customers' different flight perk ratings in terms of their flight frequency. After thorough data analysis, we have gathered a list of recommendations for Qantas to implement into their marketing plans to accelerate their economic recovery. We measured the perceptions of frequent flyer points on two separate age groups. It was clear that the younger age groups were more incentivised to get the COVID jab if it meant that they would garner frequent flyer points. We recommend for Qantas to continue their loyalty program but review the individuals that solely receive the COVID jab and no other incentives. The point of this strategy is to incentivise customers in becoming loyal to Qantas and be incentivised to accumulate points through other methods also. As the domestic and international borders begin to reopen, incentives need to be put in place to encourage individuals from all age groups to travel overseas again. Qantas could look at offering discounted holiday packages for national and international destinations, where certain regions have experienced less tourism due to restrictions. This recommends for Qantas to achieve this by building resilient and sustainable international services whilst growing efficiently with partnerships such as Airbnb or BP and other brands to boost the range of goods and services frequent flyer points can purchase. Data shows that COVID is predominantly restricting older people to fly of 30 years plus. Clever advertising campaigns or special loyalty programs such as holiday packages are recommended to be utilised for older customers. The data shows that COVID has impacted both male and females equally in their ability to travel for work. However, according to the overall frequency data, only 19.4% of the population's work was impacted by COVID, with a whopping 95.5% impacted by changed travel plans due to COVID. These results highlight the importance of being easy and understanding of customers in their pursuit of adjusting their flight bookings. Qantas should implement a longer allowance and increased flexibility given the uncertainty of COVID so that customers can cancel their bookings at a later date while still receiving a full refund. It was common in the results for participants to note that Qantas's reputation of safety and comfort is a huge persuasion, which was coupled with 63% of participants rating Qantas their favourite airline. 7 News in 2022 believe that Qantas is the safest airline in 7 out of the past 8 years, but dropped out of the top 5 in 2022. Qantas's advertisement campaigns well document their known reputation to safely deliver people back home to loved ones. Given their reported drop outside the top 5, we recommend Qantas to increase advertising expenditure in an aim to sustain or regain that reputation. It was also clear that Qantas is the most respected and luxurious domestic flying option, however at a higher price. On the other hand, if people wanted to book a cheaper flight, they could fly with Jetstar, which is Qantas's lower price subsidiary. As many participants were deterred from flying Qantas due to the lofty price, we believe that implementing a price-cutting strategy on flights for 3 to 4 months will significantly increase revenue by making it more affordable for the younger population.